Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Sales Scoop. This is a show for founders and tech startup leaders who want to improve how they sell. Every episode, we bring you the shiniest pearls of wisdom from the world of startup sales and the highest level opinions from experts in their fields. I'm Alistair Cole, your host for today and a co-founder of the Uplift Partnership. I'm a computer scientist and ex-software engineer with 2 decades experience in B2B sales and marketing. And I'm joined today by my co-founder, Kieran. Hi, Kieran.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kieran Gill. I am a co-founder of the Uplift Partnership. I have 25 years of experience in frontline business development, both in corporate finance and in technology, and also 10 years worth of experience in sales operations.
Thank you, my friend. Really clear. And today's episode is all about London Tech Week. We were there in spades last week at London Tech Week and also the AI Summit London. And it was quite a wild ride, wasn't it, mate?
It was busy, I've got to say. For those of you who don't know, I live in Austria, so I love going back to London as much as I can. Flew into London on Saturday thinking, oh, okay, it's going to be your normal kind of thing. And by the time I left the following Saturday, I was absolutely frazzled. I think I have an Apple Watch. It counts my steps, and I did over 100,000 steps in 5 days. What tells you the kind of mileage we were doing that week?
Yeah, it was fast and furious, and in a good way. Previously, we were anticipating that we'd have 3 big sales takeaways for you. Actually, in the end, we needed to up that to 5. So we've combined all of our insights from London Tech Week and the AI Tech Summit, the AI Summit, here in 5 key takeaways. The event frenzy doesn't stop, though. We're actually tomorrow at EdTech London, so the kind of summer festival season of sales continues. Here's Kieran and I at these 2 events last week. We were there bright and breezy and the last lift home, as they say, and met, hundreds between us of people, really interesting people on the app, in person, loads of meetings. Just really, it was an incredible event. I noticed turning up on day 1 that actually the appropriately named crypto burgers just around the corner. Eat burgers, hold on for dear life to your crypto. So very much like on brand. And so we're gonna just unpack these 5 big sales takeaways. I'm gonna dive into it right away, my friend, with number 1. And no surprises, AI is everywhere, and number 1 takeaway for us is AI impacting product market fit. You've seen and heard Apple Intelligence news last week from the Apple conference, and articles coming out after that about startup killers as a result of a lot of their features and functions. It's kind of exploding everywhere, and seeing it being built into new products and new services. What was it like at the front line, Kieran? What kind of impact were you seeing from AI into product market fit for the startups we were talking to?
Yeah, so speaking to a lot of founders, I had several meetings with different founders at different stages of their kind of journey. So the majority of the people I was speaking to had got product already. However, what they were finding was with AI or generative AI changing the landscape so quickly that suddenly they're finding that their actual product or the product that they actually built and originally now needs to be redesigned, or they need to think differently about it. So you're going back to the drawing board and thinking to yourself, well, how are we going to sell this into the market now? And everything is moving at such pace. So at the AI Summit, I had I had a very interesting conversation with certain companies about how they were incubators, how they were actually bringing in new incubators. And there's so many ideas coming out from these AI startups. And that means potentially you might have already built your product and already got it out to market, but there are new fast and furious companies coming out who are highly financed, very intelligent people in the background who are coming up coming from all over the place. And yeah, it's exciting out there, but also at the same time, it's very scary because what you've built suddenly might not be fit for purpose any longer, because the market's just changing so quickly.
Yeah, and that makes life, very hard for salespeople. Obviously, they're using the collateral and the products and features that exist, but obviously their things are moving so fast that they're having to, look at what's coming around the corner, potentially talking about features that are in development that they need to share in order that it looks like their startup is, got a handle on these things and is bringing in new features. There was a couple of companies that jumped out at me that I thought were really interesting in this area, not very super new, but doing great work in the world of efficiencies and code review in the software development world. The first of which that I really enjoyed talking to was Verion, who are using AI to mitigate risks across the entire IT infrastructure, not just your software, but a much broader impact for your entire infrastructure, digital infrastructure. And in order to deliver that, they're having to ask for a huge amount of data. And I thought that was one of the things that I see coming through from this AI driving product market fit, that increasing numbers of data, amount of data is required to differentiate against your competitors. And the second one that I really liked and really enjoyed talking to was Sorcery, and they have a code review platform using AI that reviews your code straight in GitHub. And I picked those two out because obviously they're using AI to accelerate the growth of other tech startups. So quite meta. And loads of startups focused on saving time and efficiency. And this is something we've seen time and again. This study is from Gartner, showing that salespeople who are able to harness AI will be able to squeeze an extra 27% of bandwidth from their working day as a salesperson. Anything else you'd like to add on there, my friend? Anyone else you saw there who's doing anything particularly interesting?
So I know we're going to talk about Fringe events a bit, but I was at AWS, their headquarters in central London, on a Fringe event on one of the days, and again the product market fit turned up there as well. It's some of those. It's something out there that I think a lot of founders are suddenly realizing, because of AI and because of the power of generative AI. They're thinking on their feet. Even founders who are quite new, who have come up with a brand new idea, are finding themselves thinking, hold on, is there a market for what I'm designing at the moment? Or is something, and you can see how this week even LinkedIn have brought generative AI out to their premium users in a wave, that suddenly now it's everywhere on LinkedIn, where you can suddenly, it's giving you comments about, it's analyzing the actual feed and telling you, oh, you could comment like this on this feed. And you can see that the actual, if you're behind the curve here, it could get quite scary. But at the same time, a lot of this is experimental. It might be turned off. They're testing the water with it. It's not to say that the idea you've come up with is over and done with. It's just telling you that you might have to just come back and have a look at it again and think about your sales strategy about it. How are you going to take that to market? And do you need to probably change the way you talk about your product to make sure that it does sound fresh and still up to date?
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked on previous episodes before about kind of two-track strategic approach to technology. You have to have your longer term plans, kind of 12 and 24-month bets of what platforms you need in order to deliver your business to customers. At the same time, you need to have an experimental mindset and be playing with these new things as they're coming out in the lab to see how they would impact your business, but also how they could be rolled into your longer term plans if they stick around. And the other thing that's had lots of discussions with last week is around people getting stuck with kind of tunnel vision on product market fit. Obviously, it's really, really important that you find that. At the same time, with so much new and exciting technology out there, we don't always customers don't always necessarily know what they want. It's the Henry Ford quote of, if you'd ask customers, they just wanted a faster horse. So actually, companies can get stuck hunting for that product market fit. And actually, there's so much exciting new stuff out there that sometimes you just need to put it in front of customers and see if they're delighted by it. Let's leave section 1 alone there and hop into part 2, which is the real-time demonstrations of value. And we saw loads of these. The advancement of technology means that, and the commoditization means that you're able to have cracking demos, adding even more value, like in real time, live there at the show, better than ever, and really fascinating. Was there anything that jumped out at you, Kieran? Any special moments with real life demos?
Well, the special moment for me was actually meeting Spot, the robot from Boston Dynamics. Here you are, picture of me and Spot together. We're best friends now. So that was amazing to see something that I've seen so often on television, on YouTube. This thing that's so futuristic. And then to actually speak to people from the Oxford Research Institute about how they're implementing the technology of AI and also robotics together, to see how they're going to use that to, using Spot to go into places where potentially humans can't go in because it's hazardous. And it was really interesting to see something that could be demonstrated. Now, I know that's normally not the kind of companies that I would normally speak to, because robotics is something that I'm totally interested by, but I tend to work with tech companies who are using technology in a different way. However, that didn't take me away from just seeing demos, seeing people who weren't scared about giving their product or their demo in the hands of the people out there. So Unilever also had a stand at London Tech Week, quite a large stand. I didn't understand why they were there originally. However, when you got there, you saw how they were using AI, and they were letting people, use tablets where their AI they had implemented AI, machine learning AI with, there's probably a very thin line between the two here, but they were showing how people could use it in everyday goods, how they were using it to sell more of their product. So they weren't scared about giving that technology straight over to the consumer and saying, hey, use this. It's a 12-point kind of questionnaire. And at the end of it, we're going to tell you how many of our products you need to buy at the end of it. What an amazing product that is, isn't it?
Yeah. And, the thing for me, the big one for me really was probably, well, unquestionably, Daniel Bedingfield on stage. And he, the DJ, music producer, actually, he was wearing an outfit, a kind of a two-piece outfit that he designed himself using Midjourney. So he had like an AI-inspired outfit on, and he got up, he was on stage using the audience and some live music generation, generative AI software to create a drum and bass track, like live right there with the crowd. And I thought that was both, incredibly brave, right? But, although there was a much better Wi-Fi connection at the AI Summit than there was at London Tech Week. That's a separate issue. But Bedingfield's live audio AI demo was out of this world and really exciting. And it wasn't just him. It felt like all the stands, when you wandered around, there were people who had created demos or installations on their stand so that you could actually see the value from their product or their service immediately. You could play with it, put in real information and get something back. So it feels like there's a real growth of that focus on demonstrating value in real time. The third big takeaway for us was quality as a differentiator. And when you walked into London Tech Week, a little bit of it was a little bit disappointing, very different from last time. It's a huge space in Olympia where it was previously last year at QE2, and the space was huge, and there was they'd clearly cut back on some of the infrastructure and the bells and whistles, and in order to have a lower carbon footprint. At the same time, they were giving away like tote bags that nobody asked for. So that kind of didn't make sense. And so because it was a lot of bare bones, a lot of those individual startup booths were kind of chipboard, and they didn't look great. And actually, it's those companies who really invested in quality that stood out for me. I know you were impressed with one company's kind of handouts and their flyers. Who was that?
It was a company called Netmind.ai. So it's a startup from the UK. So I met these guys out there, very impressive on their booth, very personable. They came out, started talking to me straight away, weren't scared of me. Where I've got to say, some of the booths, it seemed to be that the people were hiding or too busy talking to themselves. With their colleagues to actually engage with people who are there milling around. And you've got to remember, some of these stands are very, very expensive. Now, you don't know whether these people were told to go there and they didn't want to be there, or whether it just felt that the guys at Netmind.ai seemed to be there. Now, they are a startup that are competing against Google Cloud and Amazon Web Services, selling AI space or AI computing space to startups. Yeah. What a great thing to do. But again, not just turning up isn't enough. You've got to wow the people. So, they had I've got it here now. They had a nice little flyer that they gave out. Very personable, very good. If you're interested in looking in that kind of way, straight away they impressed me. And I think that is a massive differentiator. If you're going to have a stand at these places, first of all, you've got to understand why you've done it. Why are you there at this? Why are you exhibiting? I've done loads of these things where I've worked for other companies or worked for ourselves, where we've gone there and we've exhibited. First of all, why are you there? And if you are there, engage the people who are there. And if you're going to engage them, you have to wow them, as Alistair said. You need to wow them. You need to bring them in. You can't just turn up there and expect everybody's going to come to you and just talk to you just because you're standing next to a laptop that's showing a screenshot of your company's logo.
You're absolutely right. That quality on the booth, absolutely important. I love the fact that you mentioned people just sat there. We saw that too often, just not enough kind of activity. You've got to sweat that opportunity. The time runs out pretty quickly. One booth that I really did like was the Snoofer booth. Spent a long time talking to MD Sarah Buchanan, and you can see here that there's a kind of marble stickers that they put on top of their chipboard booth to just make that look fantastic. Really well done, high quality assets. As a CTO there at the booth, and they were really just, you could feel the attention to detail. And I think you're drawn towards that because as you're looking around and you've finished one conversation and looking for somebody else, you see that and you're drawn to it. And then when you're there, you're just blown over by the level of quality some of these booths have gone to, and that is a huge differentiator, right? And to cut through the noise, everybody's got an idea, everybody's got a platform. It's how you bring that to market that's so important, and that quality was really easy to see. Let's skip on to not number 5. Let's skip on to number 4, which is the power of fringe events. And I mean, the numbers on Tech London are astronomical. The number of startups that were there, events going on, just a huge number of people all across London for the whole week. And you could argue that the AI Summit London was a fringe event, even though it's within Tech London, even though it's its own event and paid for as its own event. But there were loads of fringe events going on, and we loved those. We saw lots of additional value at those. Talk us through what were your favourite fringe events this year, Kieran?
So, like I said, I went to the British Asian Entrepreneurs event at the AWS house just off Embankment. That was a great place to go because these are a lot of people that I've actually communicated with throughout the whole year and haven't got to really meet them. And it was nice to actually go to a place, and they were doing their own kind of fringe event, what probably wasn't a part of the whole kind of Tech London week, but it just fell nicely together. And I got to meet 2 or 3 people that I hadn't met properly, and they weren't coming to Tech London itself properly. And it was a great place to go there and just quickly meet at the event. and get to know them and you've got to remember, when you're at these events, I think people sometimes get slightly confused when they think they need to be selling all the time. Well, actually you don't. You're just making connections, and you're just meeting people, and you're catching up with people, and you're just reconnecting with people, just because it's the human thing to do. You don't need to be selling continuously. And it was just nice to meet these people out there, and it was good to spend some time with them.
Yeah, it was great that they'd moved to Olympia. It was nice to be back in West London, somewhere that is very dear to my heart, and a much bigger space. But we were kind of bouncing all over the capital. And then the AI Summit over at Tobacco Dock, another cracking venue. I think the evening ones, you talked about the British Asian delegation at AWS there. I think Fogs on Monday as part of the London Connector was a great event. We both had a fantastic time there. Mr. Fogs, part of the London Connector, and that was in Soho. Monday evening in Soho. A beautiful weather, so you had the sunset and blue skies, and it was just great to be back in a buzzing environment associated with the Tech Week. And I think practically, from a new biz and relationship and sales point of view, those fringe events, a little bit smaller, they're a little bit more intimate, and I find that actually things move a little bit faster there. There's maybe you've had there's a little bit of booze, there's a little bit of music, there's a bit of soft lighting. People are a bit more open and warmed up to connections and moving things forward. And so Fogs Apothecary was a big hit for me, especially coming out at late on in the evening into Soho was delicious. But I mean, that was how the week started. By the end of the week, we'd had been to so many fringe events, met so many people, and talked that kind of full throttle and pretty exhausted. But the whole point really of last week was human connections, right? You don't always get the opportunity to do that. Lots of virtual meetings happen in the world of sales, and so focusing in on the human connections, right, which is what it's all about. And it was exciting at the start of the week. It was exhausting by the end of the week. What were your big takeouts in terms of connections you made with other people, or the vibe on those kind of in real life moments?
Yeah, well, I was looking at my numbers. I'm a bit of a number junkie when it comes to these kind of things, and I think I connected with over 100 people prior to the event, and connected with another 52 at the event. And then when we're talking to people, I think it was I was talking to so many people. So all in all, I looked at my LinkedIn. What was my weapon of choice last week? I was walking around with my QR code and just basically connecting with anybody I could speak to, mainly because, first of all, it's the quickest way to connect with anybody. The other thing is you instantly have a connection, you understand who they are, and you can kind of get a brief. And then the other thing is it just makes it easier than, I do like a business card. However, sometimes it's impractical just to have that many business cards in your pocket. So that was my weapon of choice. And I think I counted up yesterday, last week alone, I had over 200 new connections. Now, not all of them that I met. Some of those are people that I'm hopefully going to connect with this week and get to talk to. But most of these people are people that I had an interesting conversation with. Then we're not saying they're going to buy something from me or I'm going to buy something from them. It's just a connection. And, that's human. That's what we're doing. One of the conversations I had with a friend of mine, Georgie, who'd actually flown out from another event in Amsterdam to be at London Tech Week. And we were talking about how everyone is selling, and everyone's selling and selling. And there was, this kind of frenzy on Monday, suddenly, that anyone you spoke to thought you were going to buy their product instantaneously. And it was this kind of calm down moment that I thought to myself, we don't all need to be selling. Not all of us are selling, and some of us in here must be buying, but you don't need to make that sale today. And sometimes what you're selling probably takes a little bit longer than selling it in 35 seconds. So,
yeah, no, that's a great reminder for all of us that we're always eager. Everybody's eager at that start, and Sometimes when the tube stops, getting the tube back and forth. Sometimes when the tube stops on journeys, certainly work ones, I like to take photos of the posters. And it was an appropriate poster I snapped on the way in on day one. Very excited. I felt like I was a Harry Potter magician going to the Tech Week London and AI events. Very exciting. By the end of the week, I felt a bit like, where's my utopia? And the number of conversations that I'd had, felt like I was literally, like on fire, burning up. I can't, deliver my value proposition in a sentence, my elevator pitch one more time, or I'll explode. And that speaks to what you talked about. It isn't always just about selling; it's just about meeting people. So, and actually, technology has a big part to play there as well, because we know that mastery of it really does have a huge impact on success. Those people who are overwhelmed by their tech stack, their sales tech stack, deliver 43% lower quota. So it isn't just about having loads of tech tools to help with selling; it's about the right ones. So those are our 5 big sales takeaways from the week. You talked a little bit about the numbers, the 200 or so connections you've made this week. And one area that we struggled, I think, was keeping our sales actions up last week, because we were at a live event, right? And there's a magic number that you like to talk about. Talk us through this one.
Well, we've spoken about this before, but just in case you haven't heard it, it's 618. And that's a bit of calculations that we've done in the background at the Uplift Partnership to say that you need around about 618 sales actions per month to bring home for around about 4 deals. We calculate that down. That's 618 new actions. They could be to existing people who are already in the pipe. They could be different things. But remember, people are at different points in your sales process. And there's different things that you can do. Now, so not all of these are human, in-person actions that take time and effort to deliver. They could even be automated up to a point.
Yeah.
But it's an understanding that you've got to keep this going, because what tends to happen and what people tend to forget is in those moments where you have a lull, and you might not be, it might not be out of design, but like last week, we were suddenly away from our desk. And I wasn't prospecting in the way that I normally keep in contact with people. However, because of automation, I was still able to deliver over 200 different messages to clients and people that I needed to talk to and keep in the process of doing the things that we're doing, whether it was event invites, whether it was getting ready for the next event, whether it was just getting in touch with people in the background as well.
Yeah, and if that seems like a scary number, right? You're worried about getting to 618 in order to close those 4 deals as a startup. One place to start would be with our 360 sales diagnostic product. We, in the process of going through the 360, we look at across the 7 areas of success for startup sales, from sales strategy all the way around to continuous improvement. And actually, there are 52 metrics, weighted metrics, that underlie those 7 areas and help us create an overall 360-degree score for you for how your sales function is doing. People going through using this product get a 25-page personalized report that includes a full score and breakdown, bespoke recommendations, and a revenue roadmap showing you how much additional income you could make by working with us. And our platform delivers all those insights and those recommendations. Here is the overall score, how we break down each section and traffic light it with recommendations, and the dashboard showing how your score is progressing and the revenue roadmap for the next 90 days. That's it. 12:30 on the dot, end of the show. All really that's left for us is to talk about the next show, Tuesday, the 2nd of July. We are going to focus in on the 5 sales foundations needed for 2025. The world is moving very fast, and it's what are those key pillars that you need to have in place so your sales function is performing and purring like a well-oiled machine next year. They need to be put in place start thinking about them now. However, hot off the press, it may be that we'll be switching that for a live episode coming from MadFest on Tuesday, the 2nd of July, at the Old Truman Brewery. Been invited to go and do our show from there. I'm not sure if that will come through yet. So it'll be one of those two, but watch this space. Potentially a very exciting episode from the Truman Brewery as part of MadFest, or be our 5 sales foundations for next year. Kieran, any what before we wrap up, what are your kind of final thoughts of last week? For me, it was kind of fast and furious meeting people, but it was fantastic to be there with you all week, my friend. And what would be your kind of one big takeaway to finish the show?
I think the big takeaway is don't forget to follow up. It doesn't mean that everybody was there is going to purchase or buy from you or whatever it is. It's just to make sure that you follow up with everybody and you make those personal connections that you made with people turn into business relationships. And that's how the world works. There might be opportunities that you could find for them. Potentially, I had several conversations with potential partners or potentially people that we could offer business to because we have clients in a particular place that could be looking for their kind of services. And that I've got no problems with that. It doesn't always have to be a one-way door. It can swing both ways. So that's the thing. It's make sure you follow up, keep those connections going. Remember, it's the human connection. A lot of the time you don't even meet people because it's always about LinkedIn and you connect with somebody, and they just say thank you and you don't really ever meet them. And, you just kind of go through this digital world. But the great thing about being at a live event is, you meet someone, you actually have that connection and there's a business connection. And this could turn into something very fruitful.
Yeah. No, completely. Even if they're not, ideal customer profile, target market, the connections you make are so warm that these people will help you out. So that's a great shout. The follow up, this is really part of our follow up, and we'll obviously be going out to all the people that we've met. So great shout. There's no point doing it if you don't follow up, push on, and accelerate sales. Excellent. That's us. Come to the end of the show. Thanks for joining me, my friend.
Thank you very much, Alistair.
See you next time. Bye, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.